Hello, hello. Where's my mic? It's plugged in and everything. It's just right over here. 1 second. Let me adjust. Check, check. How is everybody doing? Let me straighten out my shirt. And it's so funny. It's like the opposite. It's like opposite day. It's ridiculous. And it's even funnier because when you're doing your videos not live, it's the reverse. So it's just nuts trying to keep up with left and right. I'm massively dyslexic anyway. I don't need anything to confuse me further than how I already am confused. So I see that I already have a like, which is fabulous, even though there's nobody in the chat. Please hit your button if you don't mind. Hit that like thumb. It is extremely helpful. Do I have that puppy dog in the corner? I do. It's kind of hard to make it out because it's this weird, what is it? Almost like a Beetlejuice character kind of face. This wiener dog. It's a funny stuffed animal. I've shown him to you before up close. He looks a lot like Mookie. But anyway, I always just like to have something completely goofy on set with all the cool, classy stuff. Please make sure you're still subscribed if you are subscribed. And if you're not, please consider doing so. Annabise, woohoo, my girlfriend. So good to see you. How was your weekend? How was your 4th of July? And let's cry rivers for those people in Texas. Ooh, holy crap, man. We will get into that. How are you, my dear? And of course, my nose starts to itch as soon as I come on live. But that it might be because of the wind too, because a little tiny fan over here. And I always, as long as I say excuse me while I do something disgusting, then I'm okay with it. If I forget to say excuse me, then I'm upset with myself. And I was looking for my little hanky. I had the cutest hanky out here, but I don't know what happened to it. Maybe it got put in the wash or something. It had rosebuds on it and everything. Anyway, share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like my channel. So terrible about Texas. It's absolutely insane. The numbers just keep rising. And the last time I got an update, they were expecting another surge of the river. They were expecting another flash flood just a couple hours ago. I'm on East Coast time and they're on Central Standard Time, so I was a little confused. I think that the flash flood watch was until 7 their time, and it's like 8:36 here now, so maybe it's over. No, it would be, yeah. Again, the dyslexia doesn't help with time changes either. So yeah, it's like 7:30 there, right? Is it later there? Is it 9:30 there? Help me out, Annabise. My brain. It's 7:36. Thank you, dear. I'm on Central Time. See, and it's just so weird because it's like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. The sun rises in the east, it sets in the west. It gets darker here before it gets darker there. Got it. Okay. I mean, I've lived on the East Coast, the West Coast my whole life, and I've always had family on both coasts. So I've always had to deal with that 3 hour time difference, making phone calls and stuff back in the olden days when you did that phone call thing. And I still can't get it right. It's insane. I'm on Central Time. That's right. You are, my dear. So, yeah. Um, I tried to look for an update right before I came on, but I didn't see anything newer. The last time I heard like numbers crunched, I think it was over 80 fatalities. Like sometimes they say 70 that have been identified and then 10 that haven't been identified. And so the numbers get a little wishy washy. Um, and it was right around there the last time I checked. It was right around 70 of identified people, and then I think like another 14 that weren't identified, like 4 unidentified youngsters, and 10 or 11 unidentified adults. And, these are just the people that they know of that are missing. I mean, imagine people who traveled there who maybe didn't tell anybody other than the people that they were traveling with that they were going. So people don't even know that they're missing. It's unreal. Even texting, I have a hard time with getting a hold of family that are on mountain time. Yeah, isn't it funny? And yeah, I had a friend come into town from the West Coast, and so she was on the 3-hour jet lag, you know. Um, and so it was disorienting for her too. And I had my 40th high school reunion last night, Anna B's, and I'm so proud of myself for going. I always go to like the decade ones. I've gone to the 10, the 20. I organized the 30, but then I was just kind of over it because that was such a royal pain. And but I did go to the 40 last night. How did it go? It was lovely. It was absolutely lovely. It was really fun seeing people that I knew well, and it was also fun seeing people that I didn't know well, but I recognized them. And I mean, familiar faces are just so cool. So I even spoke with the people that I wasn't necessarily interactive with in high school, um, just to be inclusive. So, and yeah, I kind of went later in the evening because my daughters wanted to go with me, and I didn't want there to be a problem with that. So I waited until it was kind of over, basically, like the after party. And then my oldest and my youngest went with, and they had a blast just like scouring through photographs. It was so funny, Anna. They would find photographs of me that I'd never seen because people brought in like their old, like piles of pictures and stuff. So pictures I'd never seen. They'd find me and they'd be like, "Mom, is that you?" And I'd look at it and I'd be like, "No, I don't think that's me." Then they'd be like, "Yeah, that's you." And we'd ask some other people. They'd be like, "Yep, that's you." And it was hilarious. And so then there were people that I would be like, "No, I think that's so and so." People I had no idea that I even looked like, but here I was 40 years later confusing myself with a couple other people. And my kids were confusing me with some other people too that I'm like, "Yeah, I never thought about that person and I looked alike in the least." But yeah, it was fun. It was cool. I was really glad that I went, and I did stay in with the dogs for the 4th of July for the fireworks, which was really good because they were having a hard time when the noise started, and I was doing my yoga. So we all just chilled and everything was fine. And then I got together with the friend yesterday since I had to bag out on her to not meet up for fireworks. So, and how is your weekend? How is your 4th? Curious about that. I'm just so happy to be on live. I thought that I could get on live yesterday. I wasn't planning on it. I was planning on doing it today, but then throughout the day yesterday, I was like, I could probably pull it off, but I was just trying to you know, take a down day basically. It was the last day of my grandbaby being here, so he left this morning. So that was the big thing. And he was here for 2 weeks, so that was quite lovely. And were you here on my last live, Annie Bees? I think you were when I was bouncing on the yoga ball the whole time. That was pretty silly when I was reviewing that. I was just like, dear me, my. We didn't do much. Quiet 4th here. Well, quiet is nice. I like quiet. I once My oldest, who's 23, we spent her first 4th of July at Crater Lake in Oregon, where they don't allow any fireworks. So that was the quietest 4th of July I've ever experienced, and it was quite lovely. No, I missed your last live. Well, if you watch it, just beware that I have the baby on my chest, but it's like a black chest pack, so you can't see him. It's a wrap. But I did try to show his feet off so that people would see the adorable little feet. And like I was joking, like I'm trying to prove that I have a real baby. I'm not making it up. But I was on the yoga ball. So the problem was that when I sat down in the chair, you could see the feet right here, like the whole time. But then I thought this wasn't going to be enough movement for him. So I got the yoga ball in here, and then I was bouncing on the yoga ball. So it was a lot lower. So then his feet were down here. So then I had to stand up and try to knock things over to show his feet. He is adorable. He loves his grandma. Oh man, he and I really bonded. So that was cool. Anyway, I did all the subscribe, share, notify. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. So, I love my YouTubing so much. I love interacting with you, da bomb, diggity, Annabes. And, I mean, for me, it's just a great way to express myself and get things off my chest. He snuggled into you. Yes, he did. Yes, I gave him lots of loving. I got to snuggle him again this morning before he left. Lots of loving. And I'm sure I'll see him again maybe 2 months. But yeah, he'll be a lot bigger by then. He's tiny right now. Tiny, tiny. Um anyway, what was I saying about the love affair that I have with YouTube? And so I try to really preserve that. Like that was why I took the day off yesterday, since I said that I might. And it was the baby's last day here. And I just thought, I do need to give myself breaks because it's good to miss things. And I would be on my lives every single day if I didn't like make myself pull back. Um, there was a while there where I was doing 2 a day, and sometimes I miss that, but that is, I'm looking for my chapstick, but that is really hard to keep up with. And again, the last thing I want to do is burn out. So, um, a lot of the big content creators that do multiple videos a day, obviously they have a team working with them. So that helps. And then the smaller content creators that do multiple a day, not all of them, but some of them just regurgitate other people's stuff. And, I'd hate to be in a position where I was like desperate for material so much so that I was like just regurgitating information. I mean, for me, the whole point is to express myself, express my opinion, however wild and crazy and unpopular that might be, And I love my little saying that I lifted from Rich Lux, the in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. I have fun saying that. Like I say that in real life too, and it just cracks people up. And I'm like, yeah, that's good, isn't it? I didn't make it up. I will never try to take credit for anything I didn't make up. But I will try to take credit for the things I think I made up. I think I made up Trumpster Fire, Anna Bees. I could be wrong. Maybe I picked it up somewhere, but I'm pretty sure that I picked that up in my own brain. Have you ever heard anyone else say Trumpster Fire? Because I don't think that I have, unless it's just like subconscious. I don't remember what I was watching, but they played a clip and they just said exactly what the clip said. You see, I mean, I laugh, and that's just kind of sad. That's just kind of sad. Oh, well, Annabees, I'm going to highlight that. I do have my cursor. I think I know how to always have it. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. Because yeah, it did go away today, and I was like, oh, I think I know how to bring it back. It's the Control Alt Delete thing. Like that fixes everything. Old school. Control Alt Delete. So anyway, yeah, I'm like I said, I think that I invented the Trumpster Fire code, and I don't like having to talk in code because it is just, I don't know. But I do know that the shadow banning is real, so it's probably a good idea to talk in code. Sometimes I just throw caution to the wind. Like the last few videos, I've put like hashtag Diddy, hashtag Trump, like right in the title, because I'm just like, whatever, everybody's talking about this stuff. Who the F cares? I think you invented it too. Oh, well, I just love that you think that, even if we're wrong. But I'm pretty sure I did, because I've been thinking for a long time, like a few weeks. It just occurred to me, like, hey, I made that up. Because a lot of things I pick up from elsewhere. Like the other day, I was saying I picked up mashed potatoes in a suit from a comedian, and I wasn't sure which one. And I said, maybe Hal Sparks. I might have said maybe Jon Stewart. It was Jon Stewart, I'm pretty sure. And he probably didn't make it up. I mean, maybe he did, but probably his writers made it up. And it's just freaking brilliant. Mashed potatoes in a suit. You know who that is, right? The best description of a spineless freak. I was going to say a different F word. Um, that guy, ew, the guy who's got the couch problem with couches. So I want to talk about the sexual harassment lawsuit that one of Trumpster Fire's 21-year-old employees had a sexual harassment problem with her direct supervisor when she was 21. This was in the year 2021. And Elena, am I saying her name right? Alana Hobbit. She's got the funniest name. You know, that really hot lawyer that looks a little bit like a younger Melania. Um, Elena Babbitt. I wrote it down, but where did I write it down? Elena Habba. Yeah, that's the sexual harassment lawsuit. So she's getting called out for this thing that happened a few years ago, and we'll talk about that. Um, she's under an ethics violation investigation, which shouldn't all of the Trumpster Fires administration be? It's so frightening. It's so frightening how much control he has over that crap. So he can just like cancel, he can fire anybody who's investigating something that he doesn't want them investigating. And he, with Doge, he not only fired people, he like canceled their entire departments. And then we all know that he canceled a bunch of weather professionals, experts that, I'll just say it again, it's my opinion that those weather professionals could have potentially given more of a heads up that 100-year flood was coming through the Guadalupe River in Texas. And I don't want to blame the freaking Republicans and the damn president. I don't want to blame anybody. They're blaming the Democrats, of course, which is freaking crazy. But, you know, the Democrats and the Jewish space lasers. Not even kidding. Not even kidding. Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm pretty sure she was going to be appointed to be the weather control supervisor, right? It's nuts. What are you saying here? Yes, they did. That's why there wasn't any warning of to the flash flood. I think there was some warning. You know, I've been watching a lot because that's just kind of what I do is I play stuff in the background while I'm doing the things that I need to do, organizing and, you know, pulling the house back together after the guests are gone. So I was kind of watching hours and hours of different types of reporting. And, you know, I heard some of the pressers with the officials. It sounded like there were some warnings. There was like a severe weather threat warning. I think the prediction was maybe, and forgive me, 6 feet or 6 inches of a flood water. I think it was 6 inches. But anyway, it was closer to 30 feet, right? And that river rose to like 27 feet, I think, in a 45-minute period, which is unheard of. I think it was 13 inches of rain that fell in 2 hours. And then I watched this one, I'll put a link to it in the description. I watched this one like geologist with the topography. And I'm usually not that scientific about these things, but it just looked interesting and it was. So there's no other land on the freaking planet that is as much like, you know, like what a popcorn ceiling looks like. That's how the land in that area of Texas looks. And he compared it to some of the Appalachians, like in West Virginia, maybe Kentucky. So some of the flooding that was more recent and like a big flood from 1986 or something. So there's only a couple other places that have that type of topography with the extreme hills and the rivers, and the way that landscape is so prone to the flash floods because of the runoff and how it just like whips all together and multiplies like freaking mad. And it reminds me of when I went to, was it um Charlottesville, West Virginia? It was the capital of West Virginia. And I went there with my sister a few years ago, and we drove from Ohio. It's like a 3-hour drive, and it's like in the Appalachians, I think. I mean, West Virginia, I think the whole state's in the Appalachians. But it was it was wild. And then we went to pick up a friend at the airport in Charlottesville, and where the airport was like freaky. Like it would probably be the first place to have a flash flood, is what I'm thinking. And we were driving there in the dark, and it was not well lit, and I thought like we were in like deliverance land, and I think we were, but we were headed the right direction to the airport. Let me see what the state capital is of West Virginia. West Virginia capital, Charleston. I said something like that, didn't I? Charleston, West Virginia. And I think it changed. I think they had a different capital in my lifetime. Let me see. West Virginia capital previously. Yeah, it went from Wheeling to Charleston. So it was first in Wheeling in 1863. When did it change to Charleston? It was moved to downtown Charleston. I guess this wasn't in my lifetime, unless I'm like a witch and I'm 100 years older than I say I am. It was 1870, 1875. That's when it moved. It took 5 years to move it. That makes sense, right? I mean, back then. And sorry, I was talking wrong. I like bit my tongue as I was talking, just to explain that no, I'm not drunk. I'm not slurring. I don't drink. But if I did, I'd let you know. I'd be like, cheers. I mean, a lot of people drink while they're making their videos, and I'm sure a ton of people drink while they're watching, and then they can get kind of wacky and chat. And it's like drunk driving. You don't want to be like drunk chatting. I don't think it's a good idea, but it would explain a lot of weird interactions that people get into, like beefs and stuff like that. Man, it's so much drama. Um, let's see. Yes, they did. That's why there wasn't any warning to the flash flood. So I think there was a little bit of warning. I'll run down what I've learned, what I think happened from the information that I was exposing my brain to. It seems like it was in the middle of the night on the 3rd of July, so the morning of the 4th of July. And that I don't think it got bad until about 6 a.m. And there was one person that I saw interviewed who owned like an RV park, and she got one of the alerts, I think, at like 1 in the morning. And then I think she said she got out of bed at like 2:30 in the morning, and she went down to the river to check, and it was fine. It hadn't raised at all. And then before she knew it, at 6 in the morning, I want to say all of the RVs were washed out of her RV campgrounds. And in one spot, they didn't show it, but in one spot, there was like 30 or 40 of them, like all wadded up. These things are shredded. They're shredded. That's why I think there's probably a lot more people than they have reported missing, because obviously the ones that are reported missing are the ones, if their family was there with them and they can't find their person, or if they told people back home that they were traveling, because I guess it's a really popular camping area all up and down the Guadalupe River. And there's like that Camp Mystic and all these other summer camps for kids. And It was a full house. Like, she said that her establishment was completely full, chock full. And then a lot of these RVs, like, you would see a photograph of a tree with like what looked like a big hairball around the tree, and that was the shrapnel, the remnants of the RV that was shredded. So some of the people, I'm sure, were in these RVs. Some of them probably were able to like get out of the RVs, because some people would be getting up that early, 6 o'clock, especially when camping. But then there was like one little girl who said that she was at, I think, Camp Mystic or one of them, and that somebody opened the window and she just flew out the freaking window. So she survived. I think that was a 9-year-old. And then the last I heard, there were still like, oh, it just makes me want to cry. Composure. No, it's okay to cry in a case like that. I think there was like 11 little kids from the Camp Mystic that were still missing, and it was all girls camp. So there were all boys camps along the river and all girls camps along the river, and probably co-ed. I don't know. Maybe just separate, because you got to play it safe, right? We've all seen that movie Little Foxes with what was that, Christy McNichol and Jodie Foster. So there were some girls that were rescued at Camp Mystic. If I'm if that's the right name, I know it's Mystic something. I think it's Camp Mystic Camp, something like that. Anyway, so they were sleeping in their kind of like dorm beds or bunker beds in a room with multiple campers, and then the whole room flooded, and then when the water went down, they were buried in the mud, and so some people got rescued out of the mud. I mean, it's just really, really scary. So we know that a lot of people didn't survive. I think that the numbers, like I said, the confirmed numbers of deceased a few hours ago was like 70 that were ID'd, and roughly 20-ish of those were kids. 50, I think, were adults, but it was more like 40 something were adults and 20 too many were kids. But then they still had a handful that were unidentified, and I think that was like 8 adults that they hadn't ID'd them yet, so they didn't count them in that total of 70. And then like 4 children that were not identified yet. And so that would be like another 12. So that would bring it over 80. And then, the number just keeps going up. So, like I put in the title, that it's encroaching upon 100, because I believe that it will probably, unfortunately, surpass that. I hope not. But it's certainly probably going to climb closer. And it looked like there was a couple of girls that were miraculously rescued in the last couple hours. Let's see. My friend does TikTok drunk. LOL. Well, see, those are short. I call that short attention span theater, right? I mean, weren't they all under like 60 seconds initially, and now they're like under 3 minutes? I'm not even sure, because I have enough of a short attention span, the attention span of a gnat, I like to say. So that's why I try to stick with long videos, both that I watch and that I make. I mean, I've made a few shorts, but very, very few. And for the most part, they're just like clips out of my longer lives. I really have only made one short from the ground up, and I think it's brilliant. I mean, it's a black and white. It's me with the music to 311 all mixed up, and it's got over my shoulder Chief Small Fry and one of his idiots from the Moscow PD, and they're just like, kicking the dirt or the snow on the doorstep of 1122 King Road, the day of the hideous nightmare. And like they're just like dinking around on the doorstep. And I think my whole video is like me like kind of looking up and that music playing and me saying something like Moscow PD hard at work. Like I think that's all I put in the text. And it was just like it was my first attempt at a short and it totally worked. Like that was just like one and done with a green screen and all this stuff and the music. It was cool. It was a couple years ago that I did that, and I haven't done another one since, even though I think I nailed it. I don't think I need any more. Like that pretty as much says it all right there. And it's just so sad how these really horrible cases like the Kylie Rodney case, the Idaho 4 case, these cases just like divide the YouTube viewers, divide the YouTube content creators. It's like it's good to disagree. It's good to debate different possibilities. In real life, you're not going to know the truth. Like even the officials aren't really going to know the truth. Like they're going to know the truth as much as they can know from the evidence, but you're never going to get real confessions out of people. And these people are crazy. Otherwise they wouldn't be committing these crimes. And then you got drugs and alcohol involved. Half the time they're making stuff up just because they're winging it, not even because they're trying to lie. It's like they don't really know what happened. It's just like people ended up deceased and they think they played a part in it, but they blocked it out, so they're not even sure. I mean, seriously, that kind of real trauma, even if you're like an evil perp, you're still probably going to be disassociating while you do it. And you trying to recollect it and communicate to another person what happened is probably not accurate. Again, it's all like subjective, and that story is not going to align with the story of the victims or passersby, or witnesses that didn't witness anything. But no, I think that whole case of Idaho 4 is so freaking wonky, to put it mildly. Like that's an understatement. The whole case is goofy ass. It's a goofy ass case from the ground up. We had Jack D saying, "Oh, I didn't go out that night. I had to work the next morning. I went in early and I went to sleep because I had to get up early." And then we see the picture of him at the corner club bar with the girls like 2 hours before they're slaughtered. People are like, "Is that Jack D?" I'm like, "No, that's not Jack D. That doesn't even look like Jack D." Some people at first were like, "Is that Brent Kopaka?" It's like, I don't know. Who's that? Right. but but actually we knew who Brent Kopaka was like as soon as that thing happened on December 15th. I made a video the minute that freaking SWAT team thing happened on December 15th, almost a month to the day later. And I just said straight up, like, what are the chances of these two things not being connected when they're like two mammoth events in these small towns, these small college towns that are basically connected, almost one small college town, a month apart. The SWAT team is made up of local law enforcement. So some of the people from Moscow PD, some of the people from Pullman PD, from some of the people from Wazoo, Washington State University, some of the people from the Idaho ISP, the Idaho State Police Department, and others. I mean, SWAT teams are made up of all the people in the area that volunteer and train and are ready to go when they say go. So, how many people in that SWAT team knew Brent Kopaka? Excuse me while I scratch my nose again. I apologize. Um, and yeah, so that whole thing, December 15th, and then you had like, what was that was the same day that Koberger was pulled over two times in Indiana. And what was that all about? Like that was choreographed. That was a coordinated effort. That wasn't just quinky dink. Those two stops for following too closely behind, that's not something police usually stop somebody for. Usually, if there's something else like an expired tab, then they'll be like, well, I pulled you over because you were following too close and you have an expired tab. Just like the thing with the seatbelt. Koberger was pulled over in Moscow, I think August 21st or 22nd. And I think the 21st, and that position that he interviewed for, that paid assistantship was supposed to start on August 22nd. So I think he was pulled over on the 21st for not wearing his seatbelt. And again, cops won't pull you over for not wearing your seatbelt. They will pull you over for like not using a turn signal and you don't have your seatbelt on. Like, too many sus things. But basically, I think the cops were keeping a close eye on him. The police in Indiana, they wanted to let him know that they were watching him. They wanted to watch him sweat bullets. I think they wanted to get an eyeball on him. But anyway, they pulled him over the same day, the 15th, and him and his dad even mentioned it in one of the body cam videos about the SWAT team situation and how nerve-wracking that was. And I'll be honest, I think Koberger looks guilty AF in the body cam footage. He's like looking at his dad like he's gonna freaking unalive his dad when his dad's just like talking freely, giving up all this information about how we're coming from Pullman and we're going to Pennsylvania. And Koberger looks like, like if looks could kill, his dad would have been dead right there next to him in front of the cop. He was just like bugging out, like, shut the F up, Dad. Like, don't tell him anything you don't have to. And still to this day, when I see that footage, I'm like, that footage makes him look really guilty. But other than that footage, there's not a lot of convincing information from the case, in my opinion. In my opinion, some of the most convincing information from that case, or missing information, is like, how come they don't talk about the football game? How come they don't talk about who was at the football game and then what people did after the football game? Because that is just like, the football game wrapped up just about an hour or 90 minutes prior to when they start doing their timelines on everybody. And you don't start your timelines on a group of 4 people slaughtered. You don't start your timelines like 5 hours before it happens. You start your timelines like 5 days before it happens. Come on. Because it's not just like all this stuff manifested out of the clear blue sky that evening. This was a huge event that took a long time to plan and to scheme. And believe it or not, situations like that are really hard to pull off by yourself. You pretty much have to have people helping you. But almost always it'll be one person that takes the fall. And if they don't, there's just no option. Like, they're told, you'll take the fall. Anyway, that case is just crap, and it just pisses me off how people want to act like they know one way or the other. Like, don't trust the law enforcement, especially that law enforcement. Right now there's a bunch of sheriffs getting arrested all over the country for their malfeasance and their corruption and their utter bullcrap. Like, the jig is up. Law enforcement has gotten away with way too much for far too long. And that I respect and admire law enforcement. I'm married to law enforcement. I very much respect and admire law enforcement. But we all know that, like, what happened with George Floyd, like, that was nothing new. That's been happening as long as law enforcement has been happening. It's just that now everybody has a little video camera with them and there's surveillance cameras everywhere. And that's a good thing. That can keep us all safer. And any police officer that doesn't want there to be body cam or dash cam or videotape surveillance or, citizens videotaping, the only reason a police officer wouldn't want that is because they're doing bad things and they don't want to be caught. It's the only reason. Or if they're camera shy. But it's their job to suck it up, even if they're camera shy. Like, it is 100% the law that anybody can videotape any police officer doing their job, so long as you're not interfering with that police officer's ability to do their job. So you can't get too close. You can't get in the way. You can't, interfere. But, you know, a decent cop is going to respect your right to videotape them because they know that they're not going to do anything wrong. And if they're a decent cop, they'll be happy to have it videotaped from a different angle other than their dash cam or their body cam, so that in the event that they get hurt, they've got evidence of what happened, if they have like a workman's comp claim or something, or God forbid if they have a fatality and their family has to deal with that. God forbid, right? Anyway, let's not talk about that anymore. Annabise, you have so many good comments. Let me catch up. Where did I leave off? Oh my gosh, that is so awful. I forgot that movie. What movie? Oh, Little Foxes. Yeah, Jodie Foster and Christy McNichol. They were the bomb. They were the bomb. It's so sad and unbelievable. The kids and the grown-ups in Texas at the Guadalupe River, and the pets, people's pets, man. Oh, it just sucks. And LOL, haha, sorry, I missed what you were laughing at. That was like 11 minutes ago, but I'm going to catch up. Even in the hospital, it's hard to remember exactly what happened when it happens. Exactly. It's really hard. And that's why it's good that we have things like videotape so we can refer back to it, because we all get things jumbled, right? And that's why it's good to take notes. You look at your notes and you're like, oh, right. Yeah, forgot. That happened before that. That happened after that. That was why that happened. It's easy to get it all out of whack when you're trying to do your best to recount things accurately and you've got nothing to hide. And you're trying to be as explicit as possible. I will always believe that Brent Kopaka was involved. And, me too, but I want to add that I've never intuitively, I've never gotten the vibe, and I know that sounds goofy, but I've never gotten the feeling that he was doing anything rancid. In my opinion, he was involved, but more like he was caught up in it. And I kind of think that that's something that could be the truth of what happened with Koberger too, is that he was hired by the police department. He was part of like a big drug bust, let's say. I mean, a big rug bust with a D, a big sting operation. And then things went south and sideways, and he thought he was going to be protected because he was part of the law enforcement, and they threw him under the bus. I mean, it's so hard to say, and really we'll never know. We'll never know, especially because it didn't go to trial. I mean, to me that just smacks of sus AF, basically, to speak lingo, street lingo, the YouTube streets. Brian did not look good in that body cam footage. No, he looked like he was having an aneurysm. I mean, he looked really angry and he looked psychotic. He did. I'll just say it. In my opinion, His eyes were bugging out. Like, he has Charles Manson eyes. And it's easy for anybody with Charles Manson eyes to think that they could have done something like that. And he's got severe Charles Manson eyes, and especially in that footage. But I just like, I don't buy like the selfie that they say he took in the bathroom right afterwards with the thumbs up and the pencil neck shirt buttoned all the way up. I don't buy that. I don't think he's gonna be there in his bathroom like a little freaking nerd after like being a freaking ninja. Like, ninja nerd, really? Ninja nerd. Nerd ninja. That's what, come on. The bushy eyebrow ninja nerd? I don't think so. No, and I also get really sick of people acting like the two witnesses that didn't witness anything are the freaking angel witness virgin innocence. I mean, they're up to something. They knew what was going on. They didn't call 911. They summoned their friends. The police were fine with them summoning their friends. What did Fry say? Oh, sure, we would have liked for them to have called us 8 hours earlier. Sure, we would have, but that's not how it happened. So it's all right. Well, we'll just go with whatever. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. The whole thing, the whole case, the freaking U-Haul truck. And no, I don't expect, like I watched a video of Jules of All Trades, and she was like, just because people didn't see them removing the victims from the house, it doesn't mean that they didn't remove the victims from the house. And it's like, actually I think it does. Maybe because there were people watching that house constantly. And not me, of course, but like News Nation and those people. They were out there 24/7. And of course, they're not going to show anything. And of course, that's why they have screens and tents and like all the stuff that they use in those situations to block your view out of respect for the deceased, out of respect for the family. But you usually do know that it's happening. Or, I mean, a case that high profile, it's odd that there's no mention of how or when they removed the 4 victims' remains. It's very odd. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. Yeah. And it's good that we can all have different opinions. I mean, I don't expect my viewers to agree with me, and I don't think that Jules expects her viewers to agree with her. I mean, again, it would be weird if somebody, I mean, even with your spouse, you're not going to agree on everything. Agree to disagree. And it's good to debate things because the possibilities are endless. You just don't know. Trust your instinct, trust your intuition, know what you know. Don't believe your lying eyes, but I'm kidding. No, believe what you know. Like, trust your gut, trust the evidence that you have presented in front of you. It might not be accurate, but that's all you've got. So you just make your best um, ascertainment, right? There's a good word. Ascertainment. Is that a 25 center or just 10 cents? Anyway, I'm catching up. I am. I want to know the truth, but we will probably never know. See, and I believe that pretty much for every case. Um, that even when you have a confession and you have a court case and you have a trial and you have the evidence and you have the conviction and all of that, there's still holes in the story that, you're just not going to know unless you were there. And again, even if you were there, you might not know because you might have your own psychotic disassociation because it was all just too grisly. So, um, My husband's dad was law enforcement. He told me lots of illegal stuff he did while being law enforcement. Oh man, I have seen so many law enforcement folks do stupid shit. Stupid shit. And then they usually hightail it, like they usually just resign, or if they don't have collusion, if they don't have support for their bull crap. But they pretty much are untouchable. Most law enforcement, and especially when you get into like senior law enforcement, when you get into the administration, like the sergeants and the captains and the assistant chiefs and the chiefs, but even just regular officer, they have a lot of power and they're kind of Teflon, like nothing sticks. Or it takes a really long time for it to stick. Like they do something horrible and then it takes a couple years to bite them on the rear end. Sometimes things are automatic, but that's rare. That's very rare. It's usually like slow to happen. And then when things do happen instantaneously, again, there's still going to be a lot of fallout. Like just because somebody like up and quits or up and gets fired, it ain't over till it's over. Because then, they're going to come back with a lawsuit or something if they got fired. They're going to say wrongful termination or whatever. Um, it was all theft, nothing specific that I know about. And that happens a lot. Like, law enforcement can steal people's stashes. They can steal people's cash. They can leverage sexual favors, like in the whole Kentucky case with the female prisoners and the law enforcement there. Mickey Steins and Kevin. What was Kevin's last name? The judge the sheriff Mickey Steins, Kevin Mullins, his bestie that he murdered in the chambers, and the whole allegation. It wasn't just that Mickey Steins's employer that he supervised was having sex in the judge's chambers. There's so much more to that story. And it's just like a snapshot of a much bigger picture where this is like rampant in that area, allegedly. And it's not just that area, of course. I mean, it's awful. I don't buy that selfie being proud of himself for unaliving people. I heard he sent that selfie to his dad because he was able to button his top button on his shirt because of his dexterity issues. See, that would be wild, but um yeah, like let's just say that he was this goofy nerd ninja who was taking a selfie in the bathroom. He's not going to button his shirt all the way up for that. He's not even going to wear a button down. He's going to like try to be all badass in a ripped up t-shirt or something with paint on it, right? I mean, he's not going to be trying to look like a choir boy. Come on. I think it's odd too that there are no pics of them removing the bodies. And not even that there's no pics, but there's no mention of it. Like, well, we did it in the middle of the night on Monday night because, we were trying to be inconspicuous and like I mean, I got so suspicious when they were like backing the U-Haul up to the house. Because again, it's a crime scene. Like, aren't you going to leave it intact until for as long as you possibly can? I mean, the whole house, but all of that stuff. I mean, Fry was like, "Oh, well, I'm trying to, give the families some of the personal items." It's like families are going to understand if you need to hold on to the evidence for the integrity of the case. They're going to prefer that. Trust me. Seriously. I mean, come on. And then that whole thing with Ethan's golf clubs and the whole thing with the cars that were like left there in front of the house, like not in secured evidence for a couple of weeks before they were finally removed, and then they were taken to Scott Coomer's driveway. I mean, the president of the university, Coomer Scott Green. Really? Not even to like impound them with the law enforcement or nothing? Just the El Presidente? Man, that case is so frustrating. And like I said, I get really frustrated with the people, all the fighting about it. It's just like, let's remember the victims. Let's honor the victims. And then that whole thing with the Extreme Network company that Kaylee had accepted that job offer to start in February, I think, in Austin, Texas. And the fact that they scrubbed themselves from this case because they were mentioned all over this case back when it happened. And they've pretty successfully scrubbed themselves from this case. I don't think I was able to find their name on the internet until I was reading a comment in a Reddit post. And I had already kind of remembered, like I remembered when I was on screen, when I was like Excite, Extreme, something like that. And then later I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Extreme Networks. And it was a security systems. So is that like home security? I mean, a lot of people have home security systems, especially in a college town, especially when you got like 6 young hottie chicks living together. I mean, and especially in a state like Idaho where it's like the Handmaid's Tale already, like women don't have any rights and dang. So let's talk about the Alina Habba thing in Bedminster, the golf course where the 21-year-old, I think she was a server at the golf course. So like a waitress, 21 years old. She was getting hit on by her boss who basically leveraged, um, he exploited her, right? And then she tried to kick him to the curb. And then I think he might have fired her or something. And then human resources got involved. And this person, she does have a name. At first, I thought maybe she wouldn't have a name. It is Bianco. I don't know, or Blanco. I think it's Bianco. I don't know if that's first name or last name. Bianco. 21 years old in May of 2021 is when this happened. So she had just gotten hired, and this is what happened to her. And then she was involved with the human resources, and she was involved with an attorney. And then Alina Habba, who was one of the customers that she served food to at the country club at Bedminster, which reminds me, and I want to remind you that that's where Ivana is buried. But in 2021, she was still alive. She passed away on July 14th, 2022. Yeah. We looked this up in the very last live. So this is a year before she even passes away. But Alina Habba makes friends with the server and starts giving her all this advice like, oh, I'll be your free attorney. And yeah, sign this non-disclosure deal and take this $15,000 cash tax free and get on with your life. And and after being like all supportive of her and playing her, then she ditches her. And then this poor young woman realizes that she got played, and she sues them, right? She sues Alina Habba and the establishment. So good for her. That is so effed up. And you can't try to tell me that somebody that owns the country club didn't put Alina Habba up to that. And then she's been like promoted to queen lawyer something or another within the administration. And she's just a doofus. She's the one that was working the case against E. Jean Carroll too, the woman who Trumpster Fire owes like $83 million to. Elena Habba is the one who screwed her over too. Um, and E. Jean Carroll will even like compliment how smart Elena Habba is. And E. Jean Carroll is a very intelligent woman. She's a writer, and she has a lot of respect for Elena Habba, even though she thinks she's despicable. But she also identifies quite clearly that Elena Habba doesn't have a clue about the law. Like she's got wits, she's like street smart, and she's quick. She's like on the ball, but she doesn't know a damn thing about the law. But she's really pretty. So, that's what Trumpster Fire likes in his employees, just so that they're good looking. That's all that matters. I mean, look at Heg's breath, or what's the Keg's breath. There we go. Look at he's so handsome. Or Christy Nome with the freaking giant fish lips. Ew, or Kimberly Goofoil and her giant fish lips. Like all of these weird plastic surgery nightmares, these people that were once attractive who overdo it. It's gross. It's so gross. I mean, people just be people. Come on. So nasty. Okay. Um okay, where we at? I don't buy that selfie. Okay, I read that one. I think it's odd too that there were no pics of them removing, and read that one. Everything they did was a jumbled mess. Well, and like when they had their pressers with the Moscow PD, it never looked like the police chief was in charge. If you look at all the people there, it looks like President Scott Coomer Green is in charge. And he was. And it wasn't just because he was the president, it's because he's a billionaire, and Mr. Moneybags is always going to be the one that everybody kowtows to, right? In my opinion. So the house that Jack D lived was a fraternity house, wasn't it? Shouldn't they have security cameras, and wouldn't it have caught something? So I don't know if Jack D's house was actually a fraternity house. I did a ton of research on it way back in the day, and his house was owned by the same people that owned, the ones that live in Loma, Colorado. Etsy, is it? It's not Brian Etsy, is it? Something like that. I think the last name is. And didn't he? Wasn't he like a realtor with like Blue Sky or something like that too? But anyway, Esty, you can help me out if you know. I mean, I can look it up. Let me see what the cell phone will tell me about that. Owner of 11. Let's see, it didn't turn on the recorder. Owner of 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, at the time of the murders. Let's see. Is this scrub too? It was owned by an LLC. The LLC was registered in Colorado and included Frank G. Lee and Dan Estey, Estey, among its members, according to the records. The LLC later gifted the property to the University of Idaho for the purpose of demolishing the house. So Dan Estey is the same Dan Estey in Loma, Colorado, that owned the white Hyundai Elantra that wrecked somewhere in Oregon around the same time as the police pulling over Koberger in Indiana and Kopaka getting swatted, right? So that's Dan Estey. And So Dan Estee also owned the house that um, Jack DeCoeur rented a room in. So that house that Jack DeCoeur was in, if I'm saying his name right, I'm not sure, um, was set up like apartments, I think. That's what my research led me to believe was that rather than being like a house the way Kaylee and Xana and Maddie and Bethany and Dylan's house was more like a house, that the house that the boyfriend, the on and off again boyfriend, and didn't Adam live there? Didn't the bartender Adam live there? I can't remember for sure. Um, but I think it was like four roommates, but that they basically had different apartments in the house. And I don't know how that works, like with the bathroom and kitchen. Like maybe they had shared bathroom, shared kitchen, but different apartments. I mean, I don't know. But that was the information that I found. Also, that Dan Estee owned a lot of the rental properties around the campus. And that house was close to Sigma Chi. It's like just up the hill. There was like cement stairs that went directly from Sigma Chi to the house, basically, like to the driveway or to the parking in front of the house. But there were so many houses around it that did have the Ring doorbell cams. But then you have that whole thing with the freaking internet going dark that night. Like, what is up with that? That's extremely coincidental, right? Um, and yeah, I think that Jack D was in a fraternity. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. I think I remember seeing a bunch of pictures of him with his frat brothers, but a different fraternity. So Ethan was in that fraternity. That Hudson Lindau, is that the guy's name that drowned in the creek in February of 2002? That was also part of Sigma Chi, and he rushed with um, Xana's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin. Um, isn't that his name, Hudson Lindau? And then there were like the kids that there's so many. Let me look at this one. Hudson Lindau, Moscow, Idaho. Hudson Lindell, who is from Boise, Idaho, was the 19-year-old whose body was found in Paradise Creek near College Avenue in Moscow, Idaho on May 1st of 2022, according to the Moscow PD. The police were notified of the discovery around 11:28 a.m. That's creepy right there. Nobody saw him until 11:28 a.m. and determined at the time that foul play was not suspected, according to the Moscow PD. Now, how would they know that at the time? Give me an effing break. It reminds me of like the autopsy um for the dear redhead right after Kylie Rodney. Trinity Backus. Is that her name? Trinity Backus? And in the autopsy, it said, nothing suspicious about her death. Okay, she's a 16-year-old healthy girl. Other than her being deceased, you can say there's nothing suspicious. But her being deceased is extremely suspicious. Give me an effing break. That's what that reminds me of. These people and their freaking cover-ups, they're really bad at it. They need to sharpen their skills. So body pulled from Paradise Creek, identified, cause of death determined. And I'm pretty sure that it was drowning. Let me see what this says. And it was like, a quarter inch of water or something. I don't know. Um, they even have photos of the creek and oh my god. The photos of Sigma Chi and 1122 King Road, like overhead photos, like drone. That's crazy. Um, yeah, of course the cause of death was drowning because there was water there, and foul play does not appear to be a factor. And if this is where the creek is, it's like right in the middle of everything and right in the middle of campus. OMG. Holy crap, man. Holy crap, Batman. So Paradise Creek is right next to Paradise Path near the intersection of College Street and Railroad Street. And not discovered until almost noon. And in May, because if it was February, you could say, okay, it was like 2 degrees out, so people weren't out hiking around by the creek. But in May, come on. That's just not even believable. I've never looked at a map of where Paradise Creek was. I'll put a link to that in the description so that you can see it too. I apologize that I don't have the, you know, skills to just like throw it up on the screen for you, but I can describe it. Okay. That's just nuts. It's right there in the middle of campus. It's right there in the middle of effing campus. Like I figured it was like off to the side of campus. It's like right smack in the middle. You got to be kidding me. Okay. So that guy was a friend of Ethan's, and that was 6 months before Ethan. What did they know? What did these kids know? What were they involved in? What was that house involved in? What's up with that guy Dan Esty? What's up with the president who only had $3 billion to his name when he got the job, and then accumulated another $1 billion in the first few years of that position that only paid like $400,000 a year. I say only, I mean, that's a pile of cash. I think it was about 400,000, which is funny because that's like the same thing. I think that the president of the USA gets paid. But yeah, presidents of universities get paid a lot more than that sometimes, depending on the school. But he was a billionaire. So who cares? He wasn't doing it for the money, right? But he accumulated an extra $1 billion in his first 4 years of only making what, less than 2 million. A billion's a lot more than 2 million, I'm pretty sure, last time I checked. Okay, my head is in a vice grip now. Annabise, help me out. See, I love these conversations. It's just like free association, man. It's wild. It's been delightful. Have we already been on for an hour and 15 minutes? Let's catch up with you, look at my notes, and then see where we're at. Everyone around little t is corrupt. Yeah, it's kind of a prerequisite with the Trumpster fire that you have to be on fire too. You have to just dive right into the Trumpster fire, pour some gasoline on it, and then you'll fit right in. No justice for Kylie, no justice for Idaho 4, no justice for the girls in Indiana. Oh, I know, Libby and um oh, the they're not cousins. Those two aren't cousins. I can't think of their names right now. The one of them is Libby. We'll think of it. The ones in Indiana, Delphi, the Delphi case. That was so freaking screwy. Oof. Let me look if unless you can think of it. Um, and then, like I said, I will get all caught up with you. Delphi victims, Libby and Abby, right? That typed in that whole thing. Yeah, Abigail Williams and Liberty German. That was crazy. And then there's two little girls that are cousins. I think one's name is Harmony in Iowa that I think they still haven't solved, and that's like 10 years. Let me see what it says about that one. Two cousins in Iowa murdered, small town, unsolved. Evansdale cousins. 12 years later, Elizabeth Collins and Lyric Cook. I said Harmony. Hey, I was close. Lyric, Harmony. Okay. Elizabeth Collins and Lyric Cook. 12 years. Give me a break. Like, 12 years, two little girls in a small town. That tells me that the cops did it, Anna Bees. That tells me that the cops did it. And I think that the cops were involved with Delphi too. Uh, Just my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly, based on what I know. Um, no justice for Diddy's victims, no justice for us from Little T. I'm getting so jaded. I know. Hang in there, because I do think there's hope. Like he keeps making it so much worse for himself, and I do think he's it's sort of like the saying with lawyers when you have somebody that you're getting their testimony, you give them enough rope to hang themselves. I think of it like that with the presidency. It's like he keeps taking more and more rope, so he's just hanging himself worse and worse with all the crimes he's committing. But it is scary because now he's trying to like rig all the elections and be in charge of all of the investigating of any suspicion of election fraud and jailing anybody that he's suspicious of any election fraud. I mean, he's so out of control. So the whole thing with that alligator Alcatraz, I don't think that crap is going to fly. But let me keep doing what I say I'm going to do, which is stay caught up with my Annabees. And that's right. The internet went out that night. I think you are correct about the guy that supposedly drowned. That's crazy. Almost proof of foul play. Right. Right. Especially 11:30 in the middle of the day in May. And then what day of the week was it? Well, I'll look at that later, because if it was a weekend day, but even if it was a weekday, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. 11:30 in the middle of the day in the middle of campus. Huh? Oh, look at that. Come on, people. Like they put together these most outlandish stories, and then but it's like if it comes out of a police chief's mouth, they're like, "Yep, that's my story and I'm sticking to it." Uh-huh. I know I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Like they say some crazy things that if anybody else said it, you'd be like, that doesn't even make sense. But oh, a police chief said it. Oh, it must be true then, because they're the authority. Give me an effing break, man. Trinity Bacchus, right in the middle of campus, and no one saw him until almost noon. You said exactly what I typed at the same time. See, we are one and the same person, aren't we? We're doing a good job of pretending that we're two different people. We probably have people fooled, Anna Bees. I love that. That is so funny. I didn't know about the case in Iowa. Yeah. So the case in Iowa is a lot like the Delphi case, but it was like 5 years prior. It's just crazy. And it's still unsolved 12 years later. Small town, cousins. Give me a damn break. And then the thing I always want to include about Trinity Bacchus is her stepdad, and his twin. Matthew is the twin. Christopher Stanio is the stepdad. Matthew Stanio is his twin brother. Christopher Stanio is a deputy for Nevada County that was boots on the ground looking for Kylie. And then 3 months later, his stepdaughter goes missing in his county, right? Was it in his county, or Nevada County, or was she in Placer County? She might have been in Placer County, Trinity Backus. Um, I think the name of the town was like, I want to say Green Grass or something like that. What the F? Google, help me out here. Trinity Backus. Let's just see what it says. Oh, it refers to a motor yacht, but spelled differently. 16-year-old deceased in Lake Tahoe area. Grass Valley. That's the name of the area. Grass Valley. Let's see. Trinity Backus, Grass Valley. Trinity Backus, Grass Valley. It's not doing it. Hold on. It's totally. One more time. Trinity Backus, Grass Valley. So she was from Nevada County, because Placer County and Nevada County, they're right up next to each other. So it confuses me. So her stepdad was a Nevada County deputy sheriff. They never mention anything about her stepdad, Christopher Stanio. Her mother, Andrea Stanio, had divorced him, but they were back together. She had just moved back in with him right before this happened to Trinity. So my guess is that Trinity was living with her mother and the stepdad, but that's just a guess. They never say where she was living. She was just at her fake Auntie Ashley's house that night. And then they never mention anything about her stepdad. They never mention anything about him at all, let alone him being a twin and his twin brother being a California State Highway Patrol trooper in the area at the same time. So it's the absence of information and evidence that is sometimes the best information and evidence. Why wouldn't they just say, how could this happen to one of our own stepdaughter? How could this happen? Especially when his twin brother is also law enforcement. How come they couldn't do anything to protect her? Just saying it. So, like, going back to the Idaho 4, for the Moscow PD to not just come out and say, we were at this house with noise complaints all the time. We knew these girls. We felt like they were, part of the community that we lived in. And it's so sad that this happened to them. But no, they didn't say that. But how many of those cops in that Moscow PD had crushes on at least one of those girls? I mean, they probably had conversations at the PD, like, which one is your favorite? Well, I like Xana. I like Maddie. I like Kaylee. Oh, yeah, Dylan's hot. And yeah, Brittany, she's cute. I mean, what do you want to bet? What do you want to bet? Like, why else would Rosie be like, oh, let's go over to their house. Let's go see the girls. And Sergeant Blaker, or whoever he's with, I don't think he was with Sergeant Blaker that day. The guy who said, no stairs to the balcony. That guy was like, oh, no, you can do that on your next shift. But they just go right over there, Crazy. But again, the fact that they don't say these things, the fact that they don't say, wow, how weird is that the traffic cam that picked up Koberger's license plate was in this little tiny town of Loma, Colorado, that only has 1,200 people or 1,800 people. And that's where the guy who owns the house lives. And he's got the same car and the car is broken down. Like, the fact that they don't explicitly say that stuff, that you have to dig, and then you got all these online sleuths putting this stuff together. Give me a break. If they would just say it, if they would just come out and say like, "Wow, that's weird that that Coomer Scott Green's dad owned that house when he was like 5. I think he was 5 years old to 10 years old, and his dad owned it as an investment. You know, his dad worked at the university. His granddad worked at the university. One of them was the athletic director, and I forget what the other one did. I think he was like a lawyer. I mean, Coomer Scott Green was a businessman. I think he went to Harvard, but not for law school, for business. And then he was the manager of a law firm prior to getting offered the position of president of the university. That's very unusual. You usually take people that work in academia professionally and make them the president of your university, because it's not just like running a business. It's not just like running a law firm, unless, as I say, unless it's all just like mafiosa type of crap. So it even says here, the New York Post, November 14th, 2022. So this is the same day as Idaho 4, like November 13th, day after. Okay, so Trinity was found on November 11th, but then on the 14th, her fake auntie Ashley is quoted in the New York Post, but they call her the aunt of the California teen. That is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. Because, yeah, didn't she go missing on the 7th of November, I think? Um, anyway, this stuff is fucking crazy. I'm not the Nutty Bunny. Do you know that? Are you familiar with that Kids in the Hall, Annabees, and that skit about the Nutty Bunny? I'm not the Nutty Bunny. Um, let's see. Hey, Fred Field, what's happening, dude? How are you? Um, I think Placer County. I know that's what I was thinking. But yeah, the thing about the counties is that they're more like shaped vertically, if I'm remembering right, rather than like horizontally, which is what I picture in my mind. So that's what explains it. So it's like everything over to that side is Nevada County, everything over to that side is Placer County, because Kylie was in Nevada County allegedly, but the granddad's lodge was in Placer County, but most of Truckee was in Nevada County. And then the whole thing with the Nevada County sheriff's deputy Sam Brown, and that sheriff, what was her name? Shannon Moon. And they were allegedly doing a bunch of rug deals out of the Nevada County jails or something. So many accidents happen to young people in Nevada and Placer County. Right. I know. When Drip Drop did that video while the house was being demolished, it did look like there was a door that could have been to the tunnel. Totally. Totally. Like, people act like tunnel, like if you think there's a tunnel, you must be crazy. So, like, have you never seen a tunnel before? Like, why the F does Elon own a boring company? Like, why does he have a whole company to make tunnels? You know, he was going to have a contract with making tunnels for a subway system, I think in like Dubai or something like that. But you know what else he could use his little boring company for? Making tunnels for anything. I mean, tunnels are kind of like submarines, you know, like submarines are for dirty deeds, you know, like top secret, dangerous. You don't use a submarine for fun and games. And same thing for tunnels, other than for a subway. I mean, tunnels are for trafficking and hiding things. I'll just come straight out and say it. And the fact that Elon owns his own boring company, fascinating, isn't it? But man, El Presidente is going to put him in jail and take all of his billions of dollars if he doesn't just out what he knows about the rigged election and the Epstein files. Like, he just needs to do it. Sure, they might kill him, but would he rather be dead or have no money? Did I use the K word? I did not. I meant ill with a K. Sorry. It's getting late. I'm getting punchy, punch drunk. It's 10 o'clock. Oh my goodness. No, I've been staying up really late lately, like super late, like all hours. Um, let's see. Fred says, I have been unable to post for 2 days. Just ran disk utility repair. And finally, I'm here. I could not even email you, Jazz. Oh my goodness, Fred. Well, I'm so glad you got it under control. Yeah, I figured you were just busy with work and such. The 7th or the 9th. I think she went missing on the 7th and then was found on the 9th. But then all of the articles are dated, like the earliest date that I saw was the 11th of November from 2022 for Trinity Bacchus. But yeah, like right before November 13th in Iowa, right before. And then you got to remember that Bethany Funk went to Truckee High School for a year, allegedly. She was from the same town where Jägermeistro's dad had a house in Reno. So Bethany Funk's father was a dentist in Reno. And one year she went to Truckee High School and she was 19. So she would have been just a year older than Scammy because she was a freshman and Scammy was a freshman, right? No, she would not. She probably wasn't a freshman. Was she? She might have been a freshman. I'll have to look into it. Um, I would think that she was a sophomore. I don't think she'd be living in that housing as a freshman, but maybe. Because I think both her and Bethany and Dylan were like 19 and freshmen. And then Maddie, Xana, no, Xana and Ethan were 20. And then Maddie and Kaylee were 21. I'm pretty sure. And then Jack D, I think, was like 22, maybe. But yeah, Bethany going to the high school, maybe being the same age, same class as Scammy, and that's a really small high school. There's hardly any kids in Truckee. I mean, if she went to the Truckee high school for a year, there's no way they didn't know each other. And then um Reno's a bigger city. So with like Jägermeistro, if his mother or his father, they were divorced, and I think one of them had a house in that upscale development where I forget what it's called. Um, the development where they have like the gate, not the gate, but like a kind of like a gate. It's like a booth basically at the entrance to surveil people coming in, right? Do you remember the name of that little um development? You guys, Anna or Fred? It's not that important, but it's nice to remember things, isn't it? I, I want to say that the name of the community had something to do with water. But anyway, Jägermeistro, one of his parents had a house in that upscale community in Reno. And Reno's a bigger city, but again, Bethany's dad being a dentist, they're going to be upscale. Maybe they knew each other. I don't know. I do not know. And Jägermeister, I think, was Kylie's same age. So I think that's a really good question. Was he 17 when she was 16? I think maybe. but basically the same age, I think. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, catching up. Repair. Hi, Fred. Hi, Anna. There are tunnels everywhere. Exactly. There are. They are everywhere. LOL. I'm glad you got your computer fixed, Fred. I heard that too about Bethany Funk. Work has been dead due to holiday. Um, yeah, and then the thing about Bethany Funk, Annabees, it was in my last video or the video before the last that I realized that she spells it with an E at the end, just like Cody Funk spells his with an E at the end. And Cody Funk is the coroner at St. Mary's Hospital in Idaho. I don't know if they're related, but um, I am going to ask Google. Google probably doesn't know, but let's see if it does. Upscale housing development in Reno where Kylie Rodney was seen. No, nothing. Ain't got nothing. Arrow Creek, girl, you got it. You got it. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. See, I knew something water. I think you nailed it. That sounds right. Thank you so much. So, yeah, I mean, if they were hanging out at Arrow Creek, for all we know, there were paths crossing. It's just weird. It's just weird. So I was going to look at my notes and then maybe wrap up. We've already been on for an hour and a half, but it's just so good to see you both. Thank you for being here. Thanks a ton. And did you have a good holiday, Fred? Are you recovering well from your procedure? Um, okay, so yeah, I started out talking about the flooding in Texas. Unbelievable, devastating. Also talking about Trumpster fire crap because that ties right in to the flooding in Texas with canceling all these weather professionals and then canceling FEMA and then trying to act like it doesn't matter, it doesn't make a difference. Everything makes a difference, damn it. Everything. Especially in a life and death situation like that, like with the river rising that fast and traveling that fast, the water going that fast, every second, every millisecond makes a difference. It's gross. But what a freaking hack. And then, oh, and it's Frida Kahlo's birthday. I used a Frida Kahlo image for the thumbnail because I noticed it was her birthday when I was coming on. You know, that amazing, um, is it Spanish artist or Mexican artist? I know she was from Mexico City. Um, I don't know if you would say Spanish artist or Mexican artist. I guess it kind of depends where her family was from. I'm gonna guess that they might have been from Spain, but I'll check into it. So remember Terry Morgan, the investigative journalist from MSNBC who was interviewing Trump in the Oval Office when they did the thing about the knuckles with the MS-16 or the MS-13. I think it's MS-13 on the knuckles of that Garcia guy. And Terry Moran was just like, well, I wanted to talk with you about Iran. Can we like move on? And Trump just like had a freaking hissy fit. And then he was like berating Terry, and Terry was like so polite with him, I thought. And then, like a week later, Terry put up a post about what a sick human being Stephen Miller is, and then Trump's people called his employer and said, "You've got to fire him," and they put him on an administrative leave, but then they fired him a couple of days later, and he knew he was going to get fired for posting that, but he was just like, I thought of it and it was the truth, so I posted it. And I'm just like, that's great, like the truth is the truth. But what I wanted to mention was when Terry Moran was interviewing Trump in the Oval Office, and Trump was like kind of giving him the guided tour of the Oval Office, and he's like, "Look at that, the Declaration of Independence, isn't that cool?" And Terry was like, "What does that mean to you? What does the Declaration of Independence mean to you?" And Trump's like, "You know what it means. What are you asking me for? It's like a thing of beauty and love and all that kind of stuff." And Terry's just like, "No, it's not. It's more like a thing of rebellion and, revolution. It's quite the contrary of what Trumpster Fire was pretending it was about. Like, obviously, he hadn't read it. Obviously, I mean, he could have said something more honest, like, "Well, Terry, that's a good question. What does it mean to me? I haven't read it recently, so why don't we read it together?" I mean, seriously, like, how about a little honesty? But then, see, the thing is he can't. I don't think he can read, and so, and especially, I mean, if he has glasses and he's not admitting that he can't see, I mean, because maybe it's as simple as he can't see the letters very well and he doesn't want to admit it. I mean, because he's just so freaking evasive about everything. You would think he could read, but how many times has he like looked at a letter and on a stage in front of people, and the prime minister, I think it was a prime minister from the UK, who said, "Well, why don't you read that lovely paragraph about such and such?" And he looks at it and says, "Oh, here, you read it." He hands it right back to the guy. Like, obviously he can't read. Like, again, maybe it's as simple as he can't see straight, and he could just say, "I need my glasses adjusted. How about you read it?" But when he's trying to like pull a fast one, it makes you think maybe he can't read. Maybe he's illiterate. Maybe he literally can't read. We know that he doesn't read. We know that he likes picture books. But yeah, I just wanted to bring up that thing about the Declaration of Independence because really it's a list of complaints. But Trump is like, "Oh, it's like a love letter." It's like all warm and fuzzy. No, no, it's not. Wrong. So I was also talking, Fred, about the Alina Habba, stupid attorney of Trumpster Fire, who is under, of all things, an ethical violation investigation for tricking a young woman that was being sexually exploited, not just harassed, exploited. Like, that's beyond harassment. She was violated and taken advantage of. And then Elena Haba manipulated her into taking a $15,000 settlement. It should have been a $15,000 settlement and a non-disclosure agreement. And this woman was 21 when it happened. And she thought Elena Haba was her friend. And anyway, Elena Habba's in big trouble for what she did back then in 2021. It's catching up with her. Again, when people are corrupt, it takes a while. And sometimes they are made of Teflon. But I believe that all the stuff will catch up with Trumpster Fire. I think Mexican Anna B says, no issues from procedure. Bruised tailbone seems to be getting better too. Ooh, did you bruise your tailbone at work, Fred? Refresh my memory. That's terrible. How long ago is that? Vegged at home today, worked last week, Tuesday through Saturday. Glad to hear that. Yes, I remember Terry Moran and that he got fired. So he said he's gonna. Who did I see the interview with? I saw a really good in-depth interview. Or I'll have to look it up. Um, I almost can remember who it was with off the top of my head, but I'll try to find it and put a link to it in the description. It was a very, very good, thorough interview. And Terry Moran said that he was going to start his own YouTube channel. which I thought is a great idea because when you're a famous investigative journalist like him or like Don Lemon or so many of the others like Joy Reid, the minute they get fired, they start their own YouTube channel and they have a million viewers. And when you have a million viewers, you're going to cash in big on every single video that you make, like big, 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 big. So he'll be set. I mean, he has good connections and he's talented and yeah. Damn it, who was the person that interviewed him? It was such a good interview. Like I said, I'll find it and I'll put a link to it in the description. I missed that part about Alana. Must have been trying to figure out what was messed up in computer. Fell at home about a week ago. Dang, Fred, I am so sorry to hear that about your fall. So yeah, the thing about Alana, I think it's just been in the news for about 3 days that she is getting bit on the rear end from what she did 4 years ago with this person. Bianco is this 21-year-old's name. So she was 21 in 2021. So now she'd be like 25 ish. So glad you were getting better from that too, Fred. Yeah. Yeah. I would think Arnica, Montana is always helpful for everything healing. And so, especially if there's any bruising. And yeah, tailbone. I bet Anna Bees knows some good remedies. I mean, I would think just drinking bone broth soup, like beef bone broth, even more than chicken bone broth. Um, but healing from anything, you guys, have you heard this? Because Anna Bees, you're in the medical field, and I heard this from a psychiatrist early in my psychiatric career, and I was so glad that I did. So I was in my late 20s, and he said when you're going through recovery from anything, it doesn't matter if it's psychiatric or physical, your body needs a lot of protein to rebuild itself. And if you eat meat like steak with beans and steak, that is the best protein imaginable for recovering and rebuilding. And it's interesting because a lot of Mexican food is beans with meat, whereas in our more American cuisine, we tend to eat meat on its own. And then, like, if we're vegetarian, we'll eat the rice and the beans, right? To get the amino acids. But beans and beef will help you rebuild from whatever it is that you're recovering from. I'm a true believer. I really hope people are held accountable in this administration. I know. I've heard that you need protein. There you go, Annabees, and that's the best protein: the beans with the meat. Much better than beans and rice. Rice is actually pretty bad for you if you have blood sugar issues like I do. Um, But yeah, this administration, they seem like they're going to get away with it all one day, and then they seem like the axe is coming down on them the next day. So it's like a roller coaster, and it's hard. I try not to get, my hopes up and then get devastated because it's just too much. It's like I try just to stay steady, that they'll get theirs. I hope. I mean, if they don't, we are so screwed. Ah, they've got to. Okay. So it's still bugging me. I can't remember who interviewed Terry Moran. Such a great interview. But like I said, I'll find it as soon as I wrap it up and then I'll put it in the description. So Howard Lutnick, I'm glad that I haven't wrapped this up yet because I wanted to mention these reporters were talking to Trumpster Fire, I believe it was today, on the tarmac, the way they so often do, and they were asking him questions about the tariffs. Are the tariffs going to go into effect on July 9th, or are they going to go into effect August 1st? And he has this whole spiel. He's talking about these letters that he's sending out, like snail mail. Again, with the snail mail. That's like the Idaho 4 case. The court sent the families the snail mail letters telling them that there was a plea agreement. So Trump's sending out all these snail mail letters all over the world to all these other countries to update them and inform them about their tariff situation. They're going out Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, and Howard Lutnick is right there, like basically like hand holding, like babysitting him, and like trying to clean up the mess that he's making with all his crazy brain thoughts. And then I really am glad that I didn't forget to mention this part about Trumpster Fire saying that he's going to go to Texas on Friday because of the tragedy there. Like, why are you waiting 5 days? Like, it actually happened this past Friday on the 4th in the morning. It's Sunday. I mean, I'll take that back. If he's waiting to go so that things are calm and that it's more appropriate for a presidential visit, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt, right? Because we know how thoughtful he is. No, like when he went to show up at some of those other flood sites and he took the bricks of the buildings that had been devastated and he built himself a little like podium, or he had his people do it. I'm sure he didn't do it himself. Like that was extraordinarily bizarre and disrespectful. And he shows up in these places when it's completely inappropriate and they need to not be having presidential visits. I mean, that brings with it a lot of traffic, a lot of extra work for local law enforcement and first responders to coordinate traffic. Craziness. So I guess I will postpone my judgment about that. My first like knee jerk reaction was like, why are you waiting until Friday? Like, I don't know. But let's just I'll cool my jets and wait before I attack on that. I drink a protein shake every evening. Oh, that sounds really good, Fred. That's smart. Um and yes, in the hospital, if someone isn't able to eat, we give them total prenatal nutrition through an IV and it has amino acids. That sounds really good. I think I need some protein. Yeah, keep up with the protein. And beans are such a great source of protein and hardiness and fiber too. So that's one reason that they're so healthy. But only if you're eating them with meat or with rice so that you get the complete amino acid chain, right? But ideally both. Ideally the rice or sorry, the rice is irrelevant. Ideally the meat and the beans together. Like I said, it was a physician who taught me that, and I just thought it was brilliant and it stuck with me. Probably some of the best medical advice I've ever come across in my life. And I'm like, why isn't that common knowledge? Like everybody should know that. My coworkers say no beans, LOL. Well, I understand that. Have you ever heard of this product called Beano? It's kind of like no beans, but it's bean no, and you're supposed to, I forget if you take it like orally when you eat your beans or if you cook it into your beans. I can't remember. It's been so long. But it's supposed to make it so that you don't have any tooting going on. The musical fruit, right? The more you eat, the more you toot. I used to always eat bean burritos when I was young. Yeah. Yeah, they're good. Beans and cheese too. Meat and beans and cheese. There's a good combination. Okay. So, I think that's about everything. I believe. No, I didn't mention the thing about on the 4th of July, while this tragedy just happened in Texas, you had the guy who thinks he's king acting like Queen Evita on the balcony at the White House, talking to all the peons, all the commoners, with his mail order trophy wife next to him. It's like the only time she's been next to him in all of his administrations, practically. And she's all smiley, and he made the most bizarre comments. Did you guys catch this? When he started, you know how he just rambles, like he's just old man talk, crazy brain, and he says something about, oh, there's so and so that I know. I remember when her husband was shot, and she cared so much, not like all these other politicians' wives when they're shot and they could give a crap. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what he said. And he pretty much said, not like this one right here who didn't care at all when I was like fake almost assassinated. It was so weird. Did you guys catch it? It was so bizarre. But just that whole Evita thing, and let me give Hal Sparks credit for calling it the Evita thing, like being up on the balcony porch talking to the people, because that's exactly what it is, and that's who I got that phrase from. But like, you're a dude, like, why do you want to be like doing the Evita thing on the balcony? Like, it's such a chick thing. Presidents don't do that. That's not presidential at all. And especially when there's like a mass casualty event going on in one of the reddest states that there is. Texas, isn't that like one of the most Republican states of all? Maybe. I mean, I would think Idaho, Texas, and Oklahoma would be the top three. I might be wrong. Let's see what Google says. Top Republican states. Curious. What say you, Google? Top Republican states. Top 10 Republican states. Wyoming, number 1. West Virginia, number 2. North Dakota, number 3. Idaho, number 4. Oklahoma, number 5. Man, Texas is way down the list. Okay, Oklahoma 5, Alabama 6, Kentucky 7, Arkansas 8, Tennessee 9, and South Dakota 10. Good to know. Where does Texas rank? I'm going to just ask. Where does Texas rank in top Republican states of our country? It's probably like, that's too confusing of a question. It's not giving me nothing. Blank screen. Sorry, artificial intelligence. Can you not handle that? Are you just not smart enough? It's not handling it. It's choking. No, I think it's going to do it. Let's see. Texas is considered a Republican stronghold and has consistently voted for Republican presidential candidates since 1980, while its exact ranking among top Republican states can vary depending on the criteria used: voter registration, presidential vote margin, control of state government. Several sources place it among the top. Okay, good enough for me. We're getting close to 2 hours. I better wrap her up. It's a long video. Thanks for being here, you guys. I'm going to try so hard to do a video every single day this week because I love it when I'm doing that. It gives me a good outlet, a good creative outlet, and it keeps my brain sharp. And my brain is just not so sharp. I'm like foggy, bleary-eyed, but it is 10:30 at night. So I think I'm doing pretty good for 10:30, right? I haven't forgotten my name yet, I don't think. Oh, Dexter. What? I always used to eat bean burritos. Okay, Dexter started before me 2 hours ago. No work tomorrow. Oh, see, I was thinking Dexter, the serial killer TV show. You're talking about your cute dog. What kind of dog is Dexter? It sounds like a wiener dog name, like Dieter. Dieter from the Watts case is a wiener dog. What type of dog is Dexter? No work tomorrow, but headed to bed when you sign off. No knocking, old man. LOL. Did I? I'm sorry. Oh, I did, didn't I? Was But see, just like it doesn't even matter how old the Trumpster fire is. He rambles. But yeah, he gives old men a bad name. I mean, he gives humans a bad name, right? But yeah, I like it that you call me out on that. I know that you're doing it lightheartedly and that you don't mean anything by it, but yeah, it's good to watch your P's and Q's, Justice. Come on. Don't be slamming nobody that don't deserve it. No, I didn't watch it at all. I did see it. It was strange. Okay, Anna Bees didn't see it at all. Fred says I did see it. It was strange. I'll see if I can find that clip and put it in uh, the description, put a link to it in the description. I don't know if people like using those links or not, but I like to have them there. Actually, I refer back to them sometimes, so I kind of do it for myself as much as I also do it for the viewers. I guess it's my way of showing things since I don't have the skill level, the skill set to do it, the way most content creators do it. I mean, I'm just not I'm not savvy like that. I need to try to push my skill set, don't I? It's time. I've been doing this a couple of years. It's time I step it up a notch. Um, let's see. Texans do not like Mexican Americans. Yeah, I can see that, Annabese. I've been to Texas a few times, and yeah, I mean, when I lived in California back in the 70s and 80s, California was extremely racist with uh, people south of the border. And, I don't think it's as extreme as it was. I mean, it was really bad when I lived there. It was really bad. And it's probably still um, a thing, but probably not nearly as bad as it was. I mean, because back then we didn't have famous Mexican or Spanish like musicians and actors. I mean, you had Desi Arnaz, and that was about it, really, honestly. I mean, now you've got handfuls of talented Hispanic or Latin American talents. And I think that helps with racism, don't you? When people kind of idolize a famous person that is a different nationality, I think that helps decrease the racism. At least I hope it does. I mean, I believe that it does. But yeah, it's a good point, Anna Bees, that there's a lot of that. Um, I'm not so sharp lately. Pit bull. Yes. Who's a pit bull? Your dog is a pit bull. Dexter's a pit bull. Cool. He does give humans a bad name, doesn't he? He's just an embarrassment to the species. Ugh. Yuck. Um, I never noticed that about Cali, but then I was in Mexican American areas. Yeah, see, um, and it could be more like a subculture thing, where I was primarily Malibu. Honestly, Malibu was so freaking racist back then. It was hideous. It was definitely white supremacists. I'll just say it straight up. It's good to be straightforward with these things. Um, but again, I think things have changed. I don't know. I haven't hung out there. I still have friends there, but I haven't really asked them about that. Interesting, huh? Anyway, I'm going to wrap up. I'm getting kind of rambly myself here. Who am I to criticize other people for being rambly, right? And that's why I hate criticizing people for anything, because whatever it is I'm criticizing them for, I'll do it like immediately, right? Um, yes, I didn't go to Malibu. Yeah, I know. See, I liked that movie, Annabes, The Slums of Beverly Hills. That was kind of like my life and my father. Like there was no slums in Malibu, but the ghetto is in your mind, and wherever he went, he would make his own ghetto. So we were like in the ghetto of Malibu, even though there isn't one. And when I saw that movie, The Slums of Beverly Hills, I was just like, oh my God, this story is about my life. Seriously. That was a good movie, too. That was a really interesting movie. Fred Field, have you guys seen that? Slums of Beverly Hills? I highly recommend it. It's been forever since I've seen it. Animal Shelter named him Karkaken. Karkaken? LOL. Yeah, Dexter's much cuter, especially for a true crime aficionado like yourself, Mr. Field. LOL Jazz. So yeah, have you guys seen that movie? And then I'll wrap up if you feel like answering. Man, I've hardly had a sip of water this whole time, huh? And it's been 2.5 hours. So love and light, you guys. Have a great night. Drink your water. Eat your meat and protein, your beans and meat, and your protein shakes. No, you haven't seen. I forget who's in it. Slums of Beverly Hills. It's hilarious, but it's also real serious. Because yeah, Beverly Hills doesn't have slums either. But you can find them if you take them with you wherever you go, if you have them in your mind. The ghetto of my mind. I never watch movies, only seen 1 to 2 in 15 years. Oh, well, if you want to check out a good movie, check it out. All right, love and light, and what else? Eat your veggies. Peace out, and have a rockin' start to the week, and hopefully see you mañana. Hasta mañana. Adios.